How wild is it that your right-wing media has convinced you that a real virus that's killed millions of people is a hoax, but the woke mind virus is something that we need to take action against and protect ourselves and make sure that kids aren't being indoctrinated with in schools? Huh? I want you guys to be careful out there when you're going to big events. COVID cases are on the rise, and we're going to talk about something that is lurking in the background here. Long COVID. Looks like it's far, far worse than we could have possibly imagined. Many doctors and researchers think it may be the biggest public health crisis we face in the coming decades. Unfortunately, our federal government isn't really having much of a response to an uptick in cases, a surge in cases, if you will, despite the fact that right-wing media seems to think Biden is coming to your town and is going to lock you down. Seriously, I have seen so many memes of the right-wingers talking about preparing for the next lockdown. As if we ever really had a lockdown to begin with. I had an argument with a dude the other day who was complaining about lockdowns. And I made the point, like, businesses just had to adapt, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I know, I worked the entire time. And I'm like, so you weren't locked down then? You worked the entire time. So what lockdown are you talking about? We didn't really have a lockdown. We just had bans on large gatherings. I guess if you want to call that a lockdown, go for it, but it wasn't really. Less than 50% of the country was locked down. Locked down. There was just a ban on large gatherings. That was all. If you want to call, like, nothing stopped you from going out. Now people be like, oh, you can get arrested if you go to the beach. The beach was closed to the public, dude. Nothing stopped you from going to, like, I had trails right behind my house. You could go walk the trails all you wanted to. You could go drive around all you wanted to. There was never a lockdown. That doesn't stop the right from fear-mongering, because that's all it is. That is all. They fucking take a little kernel of truth and they run with it, and they try to scare the shit out of their stupid-ass viewers. And here's one of them.
This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth, and I can't help but wonder today, my friends, am I the only one right now who's actually looking forward to not wearing a mask amidst a sea of zombies who are just going to follow orders without questions? I mean, just look at some of these articles that are coming out today. Massachusetts Healthcare Network brings back staff mask mandate.
Why in the fuck was a hospital ever operating without a mask mandate on their staff?
Mandate amid dramatic increase in COVID cases. As we see here, the new COVID variant BA.2.86 sees Americans told to wear masks again as cases surge. Atlanta College reinstates mask mandate for students and employees on campus. You've got Dillard University reinstating indoor mask mandates. Major movie studios in Hollywood are now bringing back mask mandates amid a spike in COVID-1984.
COVID-1984! What an idiot. You know masks work, right? Masks help prevent respiratory infections. This is just a thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't believe that. But it's true.
Cases, and of course, none of this should be a surprise to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following my reports. I reported on this over a year ago, back in July of 2022. It's all coming back. Mask mandates are coming back, despite the fact that it's been proven time and time again that they don't work.
They do work. They do work. They do work. I don't know what you're talking about.
With some doctors even blowing the whistle at the risk of losing their jobs or worse. In this video, Dan Dix of Press for Truth looks at the latest data and the science that proves masks don't work. as the powers that ought not be are preparing to move into the next phase of their COVID-1984 agenda. And sure enough, I mean, look at all these headlines, guys. We are here.
Or could it just be that COVID cases are on the rise and people should mask up to protect themselves?
Authoritarianism is making its return with new mask mandates. And believe it or not, guys, these people right here are actually protesting and demanding a return to mandatory mask mandates. As we see here, 4 months after healthcare mask mandates were dropped, a protest is calling for their return.
Purgatoris. Well, I don't know. Are they workers at a hospital? Because it's not safe to be around idiots like you not wearing a mask.
Here they are standing out front of the BC Health Minister Adrian Dix's office, and he just tweeted this morning, by the way. There's a COVID-19 vaccine clinic open today for kids aged 6 months to age 11 years old, and you'll notice he has
good
section turned off.
Yes, because idiots like you harass people.
Let me reiterate, guys, this is Adrian Dix, the BC Minister of Health, telling his community that babies that are 6 months old should go out there and get the COVID-19
Yes. He says COVID-1984. But you want to know what the craziest thing is? You evoke 1984. How wild is it that your right-wing media has convinced you that a real virus that's killed millions of people is a hoax, but the woke mind virus is something that we need to take action against and protect ourselves and make sure that kids aren't being indoctrinated with in schools? Huh? Right-wing media has propagandized you to think that drag queens are a problem and that we need to ban them and that we need to make sure that students have to report nicknames to their parents. But the guns aren't a problem. Number one killer of children in this country are guns. Isn't that fucking wild to you? Wild to me seems like up is down, black is white. Cats and dogs are playing together. And like, we didn't have to do this. We didn't have to sacrifice people just to open the economy back up. And one of the things that really has got me upset was I learned about Bray Wyatt's death on stream while we were waiting for the mugshot the other night. Bray Wyatt's cause of death was revealed. Bray Wyatt, 36 years old, a high-level athlete, former WWE Universal Champion, in fantastic physical health, died suddenly at the age of 36. He died from a heart attack. Wyatt was dealing, real name Wyndham Rotunda. He's from the Barry Windham, Blackjack Mulligan, that family. His dad is Mike Rotunda. You might know him as IRS in the WWF or VK Wall Street in WCW. He died from a heart attack. Wyatt was dealing with heart issues that were brought on after testing positive for COVID-19. John Ross Sapp of Fightful was given permission to reveal that earlier this year, Wyndham Rotunda got COVID that exacerbated heart issues. There was a lot of positive progress towards a return and his recovery. Unfortunately, he suffered a heart attack and passed away. Oh, I'm sure there's some right-winger somewhere blaming this on the vaccine. You know it. You know it. But here's the thing. It's not the vaccine that causes problems with your heart. It's COVID. Researchers take a closer look at what COVID-19 does to the heart. People hospitalized with COVID-19 may have an increased risk for heart damage, but not so much the type of inflammation previous research suggested. Early in the pandemic, several studies suggested many COVID-19 survivors experienced heart damage even if they didn't have underlying heart disease and weren't sick enough to be hospitalized. The new study published on Friday in the American... Now, this was a couple months ago, I think. This is back in January. Researchers looked at 342 COVID-19 patients with high levels of the protein troponin in 25 United Kingdom hospitals between June of 2020 and March 2021. Elevated levels of troponin in blood tests are a strong indicator of acute heart muscle injury or heart attack. Doctors routinely check troponin levels in people hospitalized for COVID-19. Participants were compared with two control groups, one with 64 people hospitalized with COVID-19 who had normal troponin levels, and a second group of 113 people of similar age, sex, and cardiovascular health, but without COVID-19. The study found that 61% of people hospitalized with COVID-19 who had high troponin levels had heart abnormalities, including scarring from myocardial infarction, also known as a heart attack, or from microinfarction, which the study's lead author, John Greenwald, called small areas of scar. This was almost twice as high as hospitalized COVID-19 participants with normal troponin levels. But when it came to suspected myocarditis, a rare and sometimes fatal heart muscle inflammation typically triggered by a viral infection, researchers found the prevalence was 6.7% of participants with COVID-19, compared with 1.7% in those without. But apparently that's much lower than seen in previous studies. Still, COVID-19 causing the heart issues. I do want to point out one thing. WWE did a tribute to both Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. Terry Funk passed of natural causes. He lived a long and successful life. He died at like 70-something. Joe Rogan said the vaccine will give you myocarditis on his show and was corrected by the reporter that was sitting there with him in real time. WWE stars paid tribute to Bray Wyatt by getting matching tattoos, which is fucking cool. So that's Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux getting their tattoos. They got the Firefly symbol. That's Shotzi Blackheart. Rob Fee, I don't even know who that is. Dude was in fucking fantastic shape. He's a high-level main event wrestler. We just had to let COVID rip through the country. We didn't try to fucking prevent it. And we're getting ready to do it again. We're going to do it all over again. Duh. You saw this story. I actually have the same story that Dix was. Why? It was only 2 people shot. So, not a mass shooting. But why? Why the fuck? What is wrong with this goddamn country? Hospital workers are being required to wear masks again in Massachusetts amid a surge in cases. Oh, there's not a story with this. I'm sorry. It's just B-roll, apparently. Massachusetts Healthcare Network has reinstated a masking policy for all staff members in clinical settings amid a dramatic increase in positive COVID employees. This is also, hospital needs staff. They can't be short staffed because fucking everyone's out with COVID. That's a danger to the entire community. In a statement sent to caregivers on Thursday, UMass Memorial Health announced the return to masking as protective measures for our staff and patients. We have continued to see a dramatic increase in the number of COVID-19 positive employees over the past 2 weeks, which has led to exposures of both fellow caregivers and patients. In response to this, as a protective measure for our staff and patients effective immediately, we are requiring mandatory caregiver masking for all patient encounters in all licensed clinical areas. Oh, but masks won't be required for common areas, but are strongly encouraged. The Red Sox have placed their first player, apparently just like the original outbreak of COVID, it's starting in the Northeast. The Boston Red Sox have placed a key member of their bullpen on the COVID-19 related injured list, marking the first time a Red Sox player has been placed on that particular list in over a year. Left-handed pitcher Bernardino landed on the COVID IL on Sunday, the team announced. Bernardino pitched to one batter in Saturday's victory over the Dodgers, but he picked up a strikeout and a win in the process. Oh, and apparently the dude drives Lyft too. Here's a video from him just a few days ago.
We got a good group of guys. I like to use the term dogs. We got a clubhouse full of dogs, and I feel like that's why we've been able.
So you're out here driving Lyft, just picking up strangers in your car, breathing the same air, without masks or protections. I don't think he needs to. I think it's a social media thing for him, probably. It's not just in the Northeast, though. Those two stories just happen to be in the Northeast because I just happened to see them. But it's not just the Northeast. School districts in Kentucky and Texas canceled classes amid a surge. COVID cases. Amid a surge of illness, including COVID. So probably not just COVID, probably RSV as well.
In our country. Yesterday, the United States reported a record-breaking 1.8 million positive cases, although officials caution some of that's from a holiday testing backlog. This comes as Chicago Public Schools announced in-person classes would be canceled today.
When was this from? What holiday? We're coming up on a holiday. We're coming up on Labor Day. Just weeks into the new school year, districts in multiple states are canceling in-person classes for several weeks due to respiratory viruses, including COVID-19, among students and staff. 2 school districts in Kentucky, Lee County School District and Magoffin County Schools, said they were closing due to widespread illness. LCD classes were canceled on Tuesday and Wednesday and switched to virtual classes on Thursday and Friday. We're seeing a lot of illness being reported consistent with COVID and influenza. That's a hell of a backlog from all the way back in 4th of July. And under-vaccinated. That's my biggest worry, is that under-vaccinated areas, people being cavalier about it, will lead to new vaccine-resistant strains of COVID. And we're going to be all the way back at square one again. This isn't me fear-mongering or anything. This is just me telling you the truth. Right-wing idiots. He said there's been an uptick in positive COVID-19 cases, but the true number of infections may be higher due to at-home test results not being reported to the health department. Hoggard said there is concern that cases could increase heading into the fall and winter and encourage people to get vaccinated with the flu and new COVID boosters to prevent others from getting sick. If you haven't had a booster, the new ones are coming out next month. So stay tuned. I'll let you know exactly when those drop and will be available. I am totally going to go get a booster.